masters, masters of change.
Hello there. Welcome to Masters of Change. My name is Kim Cunio and I'm the head of music at the Australian National University. And I'm here with my good friend Charlie Hogg. Charlie's the director of the Brahma Kumaris here in Australia. And Charlie, thank you for being with me yet again for one of our discussions.
My pleasure yet again, Kim.
Well, we hope you're getting used to all our little episodes, friends, because we go through these themes, and at the moment we're doing a theme of belief. It's such a strong, like even to hear the word belief is a very strong sensation, Charlie. Why do we have such a strong reaction to the word belief?
You know, because it can hold really my, shall we say, my interpretation of life in a way. You know, I have a belief in something, which can be a really good thing, or it can be, on the other side too, quite a negative thing. And that's why, you know, these beliefs, they can be our avenue to growth, or they can be an avenue to unhappiness as well. So I've really enjoyed us really sort of exploring some of the ingrained beliefs that we take for granted. You know, we don't even think of them even as a belief. We just grow up and this is what seems to be the accepted norm in life. And yet, sometimes when you set off on the spiritual journey, you begin to see that actually this belief is sort of connects into something not so positive, into myself, or holds me back, or restricts me, or limits me, or whatever it may be.
Charlie, this is a very big point, because we just imagine that if a belief seems stable in our lifetime, that it's always been. And I wanted to give a little example about food, because if we think back about food and the preferences of food, it was very, very different, say, 100 years ago to how it was today. And even when we were younger, it was very, very different. And so now we have, you know, for many people, an awareness that the modern food lifestyle has led to diabetes and a whole series of conditions. And we're getting millions of people trying to eat the same way their grandparents ate.
Yes.
And this is just one small example of the transitory nature of human belief.
Yeah, it's so true, Kim. And food's a great example, because I think when I was young, I was told that the belief was unless you ate meat, you would not grow strong and you would be weak and all that sort of thing. Well, actually, we have a new belief now that you can be a vegetarian or even a vegan, and you can be absolutely healthy. You can get all the nutrients you need. But, you know, really that belief was strong. And I know when I was a little child, I wanted to be a vegetarian. But my grandparents, for instance, felt that, oh no, I mean, they weren't against vegetarians, but they thought, no, you'll become a sickly child, you won't be well, you won't get all the protein you need. And so it's an inherent belief, a myth. They're like myths that are perpetuated from generation to generation. And we take as fact, and yet they're often not fact. So our beliefs are constantly changing, as you were just saying.
So Charlie, one of the things that it leads me to think is that as we grow up, we need to examine our beliefs through our actions.
Yes.
And then we can report back to our sort of higher self and see, does this belief actually serve my development as a soul? You know, how do you do that?
Yeah, I think that when I really sort of invest in a set of actions, when I have a belief that I'm this sort of person, and I follow it through with my actions, you know, in a way that's how I define spiritual power. When my thoughts equal my actions, when I carry through. Because sometimes, you know, you have in your ideals, I want to be something, but the reality in my action is something completely different. There's sort of this almost schizophrenic nature. I feel something in my mind, but what's revealed in my action is something different. And I know one of my strong beliefs is to respect other people. And if I don't perform according to that in my action, then yes, I I observe it in myself that I can improve in that area.
Dear friends, we're in Masters of Change, and it's Kim Cuneo here with Charlie Hogg, and we're talking about, at the moment, moving beyond our inherited beliefs. It's such an interesting thing you've brought up, Charlie, because on one level we inherit the idea that we're different.
Yeah.
So this is such a big inherited belief, whether I'm black or white or green, or I'm tall or I'm short, or I'm smart or I'm not. Suddenly we can be identified in all these sub-little categories.
Yeah.
And I just believe, when I'm growing up, that I'm different to everyone else because of all of this. Of course I'm different, because the soul has a different story. So what's the counter to that belief, Charlie?
That's so interesting, because, I had a cousin who was dyslexic. So that means that he couldn't read well. So he was impregnated with the belief from a young child he wasn't very intelligent. But, when he left school, he's been phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal in his life, because he's incredibly intelligent. But because of a sort of a weakness that he had, he wasn't able, he developed a belief about himself which really wasn't valid. It was only in later life that he actually grew beyond that belief.
So this is very interesting, is that we can inherit the projections of other people's beliefs.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It can take incredible force of will to go beyond them. But that's just dealing with like the quick fire that comes at us. We need to really question the whole underlying system as it goes on.
Yes.
But I want to give you another example and get you to respond. So we've already talked about this, sort of identity politics. Another great belief is that the world is a bad place.
Yeah.
And has it always been a bad place, Charlie?
No, and the world goes through difficult periods. But when I came across the Brahma Kumaris, I was traveling. I was 20 years old. I was traveling the world, and I was looking at the world and just trying to make sense of it. And I couldn't make sense of why human beings could be so violent to each other and so unkind. It just didn't compute within me. And the Brahma Kumaris offered me a view that time moves in cycles, and that civilization was at its pinnacle in the past when we were soul-conscious, and all human beings were soul-conscious, like a golden age. And that we have this inherent ability to, in a sense, value each other and respect each other. But when we lose our sort of wisdom, so to speak, and only think of my temporary self, then this all compounds, and the world in which we see around us is there. But still, even seeing the things that happen, the inherent understanding I have is that intrinsically all people are good. They're not bad. All people are fundamentally good. But sometimes we come under the influence of our own nature. So it's almost like my original self is soul-conscious, it's good, but I've come under the influence of my ego and my anger and my fear. And so that makes sometimes the way I behave becomes a bit convoluted. I may appear to be bad, but I'm inherently good. And I think that's where our vision should focus.
Okay, I'm going to give you some more inherited beliefs and get you to counter them. Because this is like the game show I've never been able to host, friends. So it's like Charlie takes on inherited beliefs of the world. So the next one is money makes the world go round. This is such a big belief for so many millions of people. Counter that, please, Charlie.
I would say, virtue and goodness makes the world go around, And really, I think that whenever you sort of have an interaction with someone or do a transaction, so it's not just money, it's with love, it's with respect, it's with goodwill, it's with this, it's with that, then that's really the way. This inherent exchange of goodwill is really what makes life fulfilling and beautiful. But when that goodwill is gone, we've become very transactional with just material things. And it's like, to give one example, at Christmas time, what do? We exchange gifts, which is a lovely idea. But you know, the real gift is the gift of goodwill. And you know what I've done a few times? I've written to family members. I haven't given them a physical gift. I've just written the gift of their virtues, the beauty, what I see in them. I tell you, they appreciated that 100 times more than the physical gift I gave them. So really the real gift in life is, that makes the world go round, is this innate goodwill. And we've come to this very transactional culture that I give a physical gift. And it's a nice thing to do. It is a nice thing to do. But it's, once again, it's like you and I have been talking so much, it's temporary. When you give goodwill, that becomes a more permanent impression that you make on another person.
Charlie, you've convinced me there, but I've got more for you.
Oh
Okay,
dear.
so the game show continues.
Oh dear.
So the next one is, we have an inherited belief that the world or other people are out to get us. So
Yeah.
we better get them first.
Yeah.
You know? How do you counter that?
That's called paranoia, actually. But I'm afraid, Kim, there's a deep belief that, you know, people are out to really upstage me or sideline me or not to give me a chance. And it's so real inside my head. I think it all comes back to my self-perception and my perception of others too. And this is where really we go through this in different ways and flavors almost every episode, that it's fundamentally my relationship with myself. When I really start to heal and treat myself well, I'll have a more realistic view of life. But when I lose my self-respect and I become paranoid and fearful that life is a battle and I've got to hit first before you hit me, it's a dog-eat-dog sort of situation. And I'm afraid a lot of life is that. You know, once I went to meet somebody who was the mayor of a city, and we were talking, and he had a very high chair. And I don't know, he brought it up. He said, I always have my chair higher than the person I meet because I want to be in that position of control. And I couldn't believe it. I mean, I'd never sort of contemplated the thought, rather than having a sense of equality. So he felt he had to sort of be on top of the person from the beginning, you know, be the dominant party in a relationship. I found it absolutely extraordinary.
It certainly is. Now I've got another couple for you. This one is another big inherited belief that somehow we as humans are more important than our environment or the animals on the planet. How do you counter that? And you've already talked today about your vegetarianism.
Yeah. You know, I really love that. I think when we're spiritual, we walk so gently on this earth, Kim, and that really, you know, you asked me, you know, just a few minutes ago about time, and there was a time in our history which we call the Golden Age. And in a way, the Golden Age is a time where human beings, animals and nature dance in harmony together. There's just this real respect, complete respect for each other. And I feel that the sort of the inherent nature of the human soul infects the animal kingdom. So when we're in that really non-violent state, and we really have value, that we're like souls and we have this wonderful material environment. And so when my consciousness is pure, the environment also responds to me.
Charlie, this sounds a little bit to me like stories of something like the Dreamtime. You know, we have First Nations people, and they often talk so eloquently about the fact that this sort of the modern colonialist version of life came in, and it was irresistible, but it's not the real reality.
Yeah.
You know, and I find this fascinating. You know?
Well, it is fascinating, Kim, because the indigenous people of Australia, well, from the sort of the European view, were primitive. Because they didn't have material things in that, but actually they were so spiritual they didn't need material things. They had such an elevated culture in a way. They lived with such simplicity and they just danced with nature. They had such respect because they knew nature was providing for them, so they respected nature. But now we're controlling, look at our environment, look at the environmental problems. I only saw recently that they're saying that, this year may be the last chance for us to really get the environment right before it's really too late.
Yes, so really what you're saying is this inherited belief, it's not just dangerous to us, it's dangerous to our whole planet.
It absolutely is, yeah.
And this is really why we have to think about unlocking these they're like just crazy blind spots that we all carry around, aren't they, And because there's a million other people nearby who follow the same blind spot, we think it's normal. But it's quite abnormal not to care for our planet, not to see other people as the same as ourselves, to see ourselves as either inferior or, or superior to someone else. And yet, for some reason, we've had this upside down world of assumptions.
We do, Kim. We have so many underlying assumptions which we take as fact, but are really not true. And I think because of losing the self-awareness, we have this superiority complex as human beings. So we feel this world around us is for us to control and use as we wish. And look at this the power of greed means that I'm just interested in resources for me, not sharing resources for all my brothers and sisters in the world. I'm just, as long as I'm okay, that's okay. And if you're not having resources, and the facts we hear that 1% of the world owns 90-something% of the material goods in the world. No wonder there's so much conflict in our world when these sort of things have been set up. It's just not as it should be.
Yeah, so that belief, we could say, is the belief that it's your fault you don't have money.
Yes,
whereas not saying that we all have a part to play in transforming our world. So there's so many. But it seems like one of the core ones is that we've inherited a belief that we don't think we have a right to be happy in this life.
Yeah, that is an incredibly deep belief. And even the belief along with that my role is to make another person happy,
Yes.
And when they're unhappy, I blame myself for it too. And that's such a deep belief that I call it conditional happiness. I can't be happy because. It's always a because of the weather, because of your behavior, because of the Prime Minister, because of this, because there's always a reason why I can't be happy. But actually that is a wrong belief, because I can choose happiness. I can choose happiness in my life. And sometimes I think that, I choose where I live, I choose a partner, I choose a career. And then a lot of people say, but you can't choose happiness. But spirituality says, actually, you can also choose happiness in your life.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. And I want to give you another version of what you just said. It's the I will be happy when syndrome.
Yeah.
When you give me that money, or when everything settles down, when everyone agrees with me and treats me like a prince, I'll be happy then.
Yeah.
But of course that when will never happen.
Yeah. There's always a reason, isn't there, why I'm not really fulfilled. But I love the idea. What spirituality does, it gives us our power back, doesn't it? That within me, I have the choice to be happy. Or I can disempower myself and put all the reasons to all the things happening around me that why I can't be happy because of the behavior of this one and this situation. Or you didn't do the washing up. And yet I can choose to be happy. And I love that truth, because it is a fact of life. I can choose to be happy. And a lot of people may say, well, that is a high state of wisdom, there's no doubt, but it's true that it's a choice I can make in my life.
Charlie, I have one more myth to ask you about. And this is the myth that I can get away with things.
Yeah.
So this is a really big one. No one's looking.
Yeah.
So I'm just taking, that little bag of crisps for myself. I'll pay for it later, or I might not. That's one version of it. The other one is, well, no one saw me do this little thing that I do that I'm actually a little bit ashamed of. And then, of course, all the guilt comes in later. So how do we get beyond this really big myth?
Yeah. I think, it's like honesty with the self, isn't it, Kim? That we have to ultimately live with myself. And so I think to have a healthy relationship with self, I always have to behave according to my truth. So I'm watching my own behavior. Others mightn't be watching me, but I'm watching my own behavior. And I think that you can sleep easily when you live with your conscience. You can really live according to your conscience, and you don't do actions against your truth or your conscience.
Charlie, I must say I found this discussion very, very stimulating, because we've all inherited all these little assumptions and we've broken a few of them open and to say beyond them lies a simple truth that I have the capacity for incredible self-growth because I am a soul. So I would like you to do what you do so well, to take us on an inner journey.
So this is a special invitation to everyone watching this program to begin the inner journey, which is really the highest journey, to rediscover my intrinsic and essence-full self. And in doing that, begin to observe the baggage that I've collected along the way. Unconsciously, I inherit so many beliefs about myself, about life, about relationships. I carry assumptions which I take for granted are true. But as I begin to journey to my essence, and I stand in the truth that I am eternal, I can never die, I am non-physical, I am the conscious soul. When I'm in this sweet and spiritual place, I look back at the beliefs and assumptions I carry, and I begin to see that sometimes they have distorted my perception. Sometimes they're born out of body consciousness, or we can say a worldview based on the belief that I'm a temporary body. And that worldview has gripped us so deeply. It's given birth to numerous beliefs and assumptions that are not true. I don't oppose them. I just begin to let them go and hold the experience of who I am. And when I begin to live my life looking through the lens of the self as the eternal soul, you as an eternal soul, and life like a drama where each actor each soul is playing a part through their body. I begin to step into my spiritual reality, my permanent reality. And this is soul consciousness. And in this soul conscious state, I can connect with the divine. The divine is the soul beyond all beliefs and assumptions, who's the benchmark of purity and truth. Om Shanti.
Friends, we've had a beautiful meditation. We've really started to think that we can move beyond the inherited assumptions of our societies, of this world, and we can investigate our human potential as souls, unlock this capacity for self-love, forgiveness, and sweetness in our lives that Charlie took us on this journey for. That all of us have the power to choose happiness. Charlie, you gave us this teaching so clearly today. Can you say it to us one last time before we go?
Well, in life I can choose a career, choose a partner, choose where I live. I can also choose happiness.
So dear friends, may all of us from this moment on, in every way, choose more happiness. Thank you again, Charlie.
Thank you, Kim. Thanks so much.